Hi guys, this is Marcela Titi and welcome back to my show at Manja Hustle. Today on the show, we're going to be speaking with the founder of the CP Center in Lagos State, Miss Nonye Nweke. The CP Center is a center that takes care of children with cerebral palsy, and it's at no cost to the parents. We're going to be speaking to Nonye about her journey so far. So stay tuned. Hi guys, with me on the show is Nonye Nweke, the founder of the CP Center in Lagos State. Nonye, welcome to the show. We're very pleased to have you on.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we want to first of all say that we appreciate your work. We're inspired by it, and we hope that more people are inspired when they hear the story.
I hope so too. I hope so.
Okay, so I'll start my first question. Can you tell us tell us a little bit about cerebral palsy? What is it about? What's the condition like?
Well, cerebral palsy medically is supposed to be a result of an accident that happened to the parts of the brain, an infant's brain, and something that will happen while the woman is pregnant. It will happen at the point of birth, and it will happen shortly after birth. That is, it could be prenatal, it could be perinatal, that's around the time of birth, it could be postnatal. But for a mother, I like to define CP as that thing that happens to your child that puts your child developmentally behind her peers. Because when cerebral palsy occurs, your child will not develop at the same pace with her peers or his peers. So, and sometimes, most times, it even affects the family. Sometimes it stagnates the mother, in her job because she spends more time attending to that child. So that is cerebral palsy. So, this is how I normally explain it to the average person who may not be able to go and read, okay, it's a congenital disorder, using all the medical terms. So that is what cerebral palsy is.
Thank you, Nonye.
All right.
Because I know most people, we see children with this condition and they're not quite sure what's going on. Some people mistake.
I like to say that cerebral palsy is, particularly around here, it's very silent. We don't talk about it because you don't get to see the children, understandably so. For instance, when a child has cerebral palsy, for instance, my own daughter, at 15, she's still not sitting up. She can't have neck control. She's not sitting. She's not walking. So you can't see her outside. I can take her outside because I have a car that I can still manage to take her out. But for the average person who does not own a car, you can't even, here we back our children to go out. So you can't back even a 5-6-year-old. For instance, if you have the child as your first child, by the time the child is 2 years, 3 years, before the child is 3 years, you are expected to have another child. In fact, for us here, if you have a child with cerebral palsy, personal experience, you get to the hospital, the nurse is telling you, madam, we'll go born, won't you go and have another child? Yes. So if you are pregnant if you're pregnant and you have a child like this, naturally, nobody sees that one because you can't be carrying pregnancy and you are backing the child. Or even if you are carrying the pregnancy and you are backing the child, by the time you put to bed, you will have to back the baby and then you leave that one at home. It's going out. So you don't see them. So that's understandable. And then infrastructures does not give room for you to see the children. You know how our transport system is here. We don't have bus service, So how do you take the child out? Are you going to carry the child in your back and carry the other one? So that is what cerebral palsy is to the average person. That's why we don't see them.
So Nonye, how did it all start and how is the center currently being funded?
Okay, I started the center. I like to say that I was angry. Sometimes you have to be angry enough to make a change, positive change. My daughter was diagnosed at 5 months. My daughter, is adopted. So at 5 months, before 5 months, I already suspected something wasn't quite right. I remember going to one doctor and I asked, why is my baby not holding up on his neck? She was 4 months then. And he says, oh, it's because I shouldn't worry that it's from 6 months, doctors begin to get worried. Okay, but at 5 months, I was convinced something was wrong. So one day I just took her, I was with my mother, I went to see a nurse, it was in the village. I had visited my parents and the nurse already observed that something wasn't right. You know, we have a culture of silence, you know, over here. People see that something's wrong with the nurse and won't hear it from my mouth. So she now started talking to my mother. My mother told her that I'm kind of worried about this baby. And my mother has told me that it's because I didn't breastfeed her. That's why she's not developing the way she should develop. I said, no, I don't think so. Anyway, so this nurse now started telling my mom that, you know, started giving her examples that you see the child of Mr. So-and-so, you know, is this kind of children and all that. So I knew something was just not right. So the next day I took her to a pediatrician who now told me the child has cerebral palsy. And he asked me what happened at birth. And I said I was not there, that my baby was adopted. And he was angry. Why should they give out a child like this for adoption? I should take the child back. Now I can see the way we operate around it. And anyway, so by the time I got through all that, and then fortunately, 15 years ago, internet wasn't what it is today. Yeah. But I had the privilege of haven't, you know, developed at, you know, the use of internet. I had wireless on my desk. So I was able to Google cerebral palsy. And as I Googled, I was looking at my baby. So I was able to understand that's the medical condition. And then I started looking for what to do. So I took my baby, started looking for what to do with her. We started going to the hospital, you know, we went to the neuro clinic. We are referred for physiotherapy. But thereafter, what happens? You wake up in the morning. I was running a business then. I had a fast-food business, which I was running. And then you wake up every day, you have your baby with you. Then I took her to a daycare, and the daycare said, no, they're not going to take her because they don't have provision for special children, that other mothers will withdraw their children, you know, so, and they don't want to lose their business. So I was stuck with my baby.
They actually said that?
Yeah, they said that. They told me. Yeah, they told me. Yes. And you know what? And that is what happens. You know, when they take in other children like that, other mothers, you know, begin to withdraw their children. Because, you know, nobody likes, and everybody wants to be associated with something good. You know, cerebral palsy, people, the eyes, you know, do not like the ugly. So your child is there drooling, you know how they act. Some of them will wriggling, depending on the manifestation. But somebody like my child, Steve, cannot sit down, he's drooling and all that. So, and what you don't know, you are afraid of. So, you know, so sometimes I've gotten to the stage where I don't look at them with bitterness or anger. Rather, I look at them with lack of understanding and empathy because they don't understand. Exactly. But when you understand, you will have a different attitude. I would have behaved the same way if I didn't know what it was. So here I was. Of course, it's a private organization, so the person is running business. You don't want her to lose business. The government does not have provisions for that. So I took my baby home and I was stuck with her. I would strap her in my bag. I'll be cooking, and I was running a restaurant and all that. So by the time she was 1 year, I found the place where I was taking her. But in that place, they manage children with all disabilities. You know, Down syndrome, autism, all sorts of disabilities.
Not quite specialized.
Not quite specialized, good, because the person who started that place has a son who has autism. So you can understand if she tends more towards autism. But because of pressure from other parents who are looking for what to do with their children, she allowed them, which is wonderful, you know, so you can bring your child there as a fee. But by the time, and even then I didn't have a good understanding, I just knew disability. So by the time I started having understanding and I started observing that the treatments aren't quite the same. sometimes, not because they don't want to treat these children very well, but they demand more attention. They demand more, you have more input to put on them. So the tendency is that you tend to focus where you have less attention, people that you don't need so much depend on. So by the time my child was there for 1 year, I started asking myself that, I need to find something, better. And when I couldn't find that, I said, you know what, if you can find what you are looking for, you create it. By then I started reading. I started seeing what was happening outside that, that kind of a thing. So CP Center is my attempt to create that, which I couldn't find. So that was how the CP Center started.
Very interesting, but also very scary place to be. I think for people who have no support, no understanding, no help at all from anybody, it's a very scary place to be. Nonye, I think what you did is very brave. I don't think many of us can stand up and say, "Oh, I would do the same." It's easier said than done.
You never really know what you can do until you are faced, with that.
Yeah.
Even sometimes I marvel at myself. Why are you the one doing this? Then I just know that no, it's not you doing it. That God allows something. It means that He has provided you with the ability. You just have to look inwards and you keep going, and hoping that He and so far 11 years down the line, He's daily showed me that He's right there and that He approves of what I'm doing. Okay. I see that.
How's the center currently being funded?
Hassling people, harassing people. That's why I put it. You know what I mean? Every day I wake up, I send text messages. These lovely text messages you send to people. We are still here. Cloud. No, seriously, but that is what it is. Yeah. We don't have any government support. There is no organization that we say, oh, okay, it's us. It's been individuals, friend talk to friend, brother talk to sister, my sister's friends, and it's shown me something. If you are credible, people will be so into what you are doing, and if they see that doing what you say you are doing, they will support. So that is what it has been.
How do you then support this child? The whole thing was such a strong emotion, and then to think that we have no support, the government has nothing in place for children with disability, it really bothers me. And we have a perfect system, but I mean, really, it's like
on Sunday. Yes, on Sunday, it's you find out that what I say to families is that it is us who will begin to cry, who will make impact. You have to start something. On Sunday, I was invited. The Lagos State governor had a forum where she invited organizations that are working with children with Cerebral Palsy and Down syndrome, and I was there. I mean, to me, that's a big milestone.
Yeah, it is.
Before then, I had met the first lady on a Zoom meeting. I was on a Zoom meeting. I didn't know she was there, and I was venting out. To the people who organized the meeting and everything. And then she now switched on her camera, and she said, "Oh, the first lady and everything." I said, so they're beginning to hear. They're beginning to hear the cries. Prayer is very complex. Prayerfully, with commitments, they will be able to start doing something. Because the interesting thing about disability is that I don't know how God just left is there, and there is no going back. Something like cerebral palsy, the first time cerebral palsy came into medical lexicon, you can check that, was since 1886. That was the first time. It was called little disease because of the professor, an English professor that did a research on that. But of course, that doesn't mean that is when it's been there. It is when somebody woke up to say, "Oh, why are we having this kind of children? What's causing it?" 86. But even back in the days of Socrates, it was there. So I say that it's something that is there and will ever be there, just as the Bible says. Nothing is new. So, but the question now is, what are we doing with that? I believe that whatever God left for us to do, that He is something He wants to make us great through. Not necessarily curing it, but discover things. Sometimes I look at myself and I'm like, oh, all these 20 people wake up every day More than that, every day I get calls, no exaggeration, 2, 3, 4 calls that are ready to give you their children. I'm like, no, I'm not taking your child. It's like, you can come, let us do something with your child. You know what I mean? Yeah. So imagine government decides, and I have over 15 people under my employment, even post-COVID. That's I pay salaries. And if this little me can do that, imagine if this can be replicated in every government, you know. So you create employment, like now I take in mothers. It's okay, you're not able to work, you bring your child, I pay you salaries, and you come every morning with your child, you work with the child amongst all the children. At the end of the day, you go home. So you can see that the mother's mental health will improve because she wakes up every morning, she's going to work, and when she comes there, she sees other children that are either worse than or better than her own child, and she better understand that, oh, it's not only me, you know, like we say, yeah, not only me. So so it gives her a kind of balance. So it's something that we can do, and I say it every day that I have proven that it's doable, it can be done. And as I said to the governor, I'm ready to support any person who is ready to replicate what I'm doing, because it's replicable.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you're taking this step, and then the government are finally listening, at least from Lagos State.
Yeah.
I hope that they don't just speak, that they put their actions behind it.
I'm hoping so too.
And then the support, because it's very important to nurture when somebody has started something. Support what that person is doing. Nurture it, because it's one life, the next life, and the next life. And then maybe if Lagos State gets it right, more states will replicate that and
yes.
Create some form of awareness for everybody. Thank you, Nonye.
Thank you.
So Nonye, I think my next question, we kind of already spoke about it, about the government being involved, and I was going to ask you, what the critical gap what are the critical gaps that needs to be filled by the government in the management of disabilities in Nigeria?
Well, I think the government needs to provide, kind of set up a structure, a system whereby if a family, if a woman has a child with disability, they will capture that child. Right. This thing is already done in Sri Lanka. I'm using Sri Lanka. I don't want to use the developed countries like America and USA and others, But in Sri Lanka, which is a third world country, is a developing country, they're already doing that. Just as we are. That's it. Sri Lanka is almost like what Nigeria is now. So if Sri Lanka can do it, you can do it. A system whereby the government captures, a child with disability. Because a child with disability, the reality is that it brings a lot of setback on a family, and they need a lot of support. So, and then they have to provide a structure whereby, for instance, cerebral palsy, or even other disabilities, where they can access therapies. Because right now, I can tell you for sure that nobody knows, the number of children, that have disability. But if I walk from, the research by Professor Leshi, at a lecture, we had a lecture some time ago, and he was there. In his presentation, he said that 10 out of every 1,000 live births, that is 1 out of 100, every year have cerebral palsy. You can see the magnitude, yes. But sitting here, considering from the number of people that's coming here to talk to me, by the number of requests I get, calls, emails, and all that, I can tell you authority, 1 out of 80 children with cerebral palsy every year. And these are children that nothing happens, that nobody thinks about. And then if you use even the 1 out of 100 and use the birth rates of Lagos State, maybe 2017 birth rate or thereabouts. So if you work it out, you will have, every year you have at least 5,000 plus women having children with cerebral palsy. So the question,
that's a lot of it.
That's massive. The question is, where are the children? What is happening to them? And of course,
nobody knows.
Nobody knows. Some of them die, some of them are to die, some of them are abandoned, which I personally, I don't, I look at the people with sympathy, because if I don't have the understanding I have, I probably will do the same thing like they're doing, you know. So the government needs to do that. Once we have in Lagos State, you have orphanages.
Yeah.
You know, when these children are abandoned, you know, they are put in orphanages. They are there. And of course, there's nothing happening to them. Most of the people running the orphanages do not even understand the condition. They don't even know what they're supposed to be doing with the children. So the children are just there. The ones on the mild spectrum, they survive. The ones on the severe spectrum, then they die. And the government does not, nobody cares. So the government needs to put structures in place and then support families so that families, you know, can take good care of these children. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you because I think, I mean, if there's awareness, if government have special centers where children with these disabilities are cared for, we have a lot of doctors, we have trained professionals, physiotherapists, you know, who the government can pay, employ to you know, to handle the centers. If people have this understanding, people who have no money, I mean, people listen to us speak about this, what the government can do. And what comes to their mind is like, they've not even taken care of the everyday Nigerian.
The regular people,
How much
regular
more people with disabilities.
And then, you know why I get, you remember I said I was angry at the initial time. I'm still angry, not as much as I was then. There are so many educated people that have children like this. Educated, rich people, informed people.
And they
no, they don't. What do they do? No, I mean, when people say people, you don't consciously hide your child. For instance, I always use myself as an example. I'm not hiding my child, but I can't take my child out the way I want. Very soon, I will not even be able to take her out at all, even if I wanted, because I will need the right car to take her. You know those kind of adapted
wheelchair and everything.
I don't have them. I can't afford them. So you might say I'm hiding my child, but I'm not. Then what I mean by those ones, what they do, they take their children abroad and they lie through the system. You know how it is. I know how many Nigerian people get abroad. So they take their children abroad, and you know how easy it is to key into the system, and that's what they do. Or some of them, they are so comfortable. You know, if you are very comfortable, you don't need to live abroad here, because here you will have, you know, all sorts of, you know, domestic attendants to your beck and call. Yeah. So they kind of encase themselves in their homes. They're taking care of their children. They have all the caregivers they need. They have the therapists come and work. That's what's happening. So nobody thinks of the average person. For instance, I could have taken my child abroad and lied to the system. I started traveling with my daughter when she was 18 months. That was even long before I thought of starting the center. I remember in UK, when I got there, some people were shocked that I was coming back to Nigeria with a child like this. I said, no, I don't want to live in UK. I have a sister there. She's even a medical doctor. And I said, they were surprised that, you know, they kept coming to me, my sister's friend, are you going back? And they thought I had come to stay, because that is the story. That's a lot of people are like that. They just go, either they settle there or they come back and create their work for them. So it is us. That's why I say it is parents who must begin to show the government, tell the government, okay, I've seen this thing abroad. Can we replicate it? I was in Turkey for about 5 weeks with my daughter. So what I'm trying to do is to try to replicate what I saw, the beautiful environment, you know, care of and everything. Yeah. And people thought, oh, how are you doing what you are doing? How am I doing it? People come in, they see my sincerity. They come in unannounced, the children are all, you know, clean. You cannot perceive any smell. And people are like, are they not all on diapers? They're all on diapers. But I cannot leave any of them uncared for when my daughter is there. So you create a beautiful environment. And that is what we should be doing. But many people don't do that. They just do it for themselves.
I think it's not just enough to have, even when you have money, it's not enough to say, I have a maid that takes care of my son or my daughter with this condition. Because you find out what you find abroad is that they create an environment for these children to give them some form of normalcy. You know, they have games, they have things that they do with the kids. And you see these children, people with this disability begin to communicate with themselves, begin to interact, and you know, and you then, that's true. And so I think what many people, when they move their children abroad, is because they think, if I leave my child here, I know of a story where the father had this problem. It wasn't cerebral palsy, but it was also disability, that the child couldn't communicate like the other children. She was a bit, late. She's not developing as fast as her peers. And he saw the way the teachers were treating the children with this disability, the lack of care, the rejection, the shame, and he's thinking, how on earth is my child going to grow in the system? And when he had the opportunity to take his child out of the country, and he saw the difference within a couple of years, the child was already involved in several IT, when she was in a debate team or something. And then in the next couple of years, they say, oh, we're going to bring her into regular school with other kids. She doesn't need to be, because she's developed so much. But you don't see it in Nigeria. But that doesn't happen on its own. It happens with the government support, because the government steps in.
Governments, and then even because some the teachers don't even know what to do. There's no training. No. They don't see children. Even the doctors, for instance, you see, I've not taken my child to the hospital in the past 5 years or thereabout. That's the government hospitals, right? Because I don't have need to. I've understood how to manage her condition. But if we have a place where the doctors trained
for this,
the therapists are trained. Most of the therapists, physiotherapists, when they leave the university, most of them have not seen children in the spectrum of children I manage. I know that because I have met physiotherapists who come in here to work. They've not seen children. It's true. When you go to university, in every course, it's the basics you learn. It's when you're practicing that you begin to see, in reality.
They have nowhere to practice.
They have nowhere to practice.
They have nowhere. So they
only see them when they go on posting, maybe 6 weeks posting, and they're more concerned about how to pass their exams. It's natural, So there's no place where they can put into, where they can now learn the practical aspect of it. So we are missing so much. Do
you think that, I mean, we hear of big corporations who have charities, foundations, and all those things. I mean, we see that abroad, where private individuals would,
private. I know what you mean.
They fund special. They don't just say we're giving to the poor. We're giving.
No. Here they like to give you. They like to give you Indomie, rice and beans and everything.
They fund specific things. Shouldn't we see more of that happening, where these organizations say we want to put money into whether it's cancer, whether it's children with this particular disability, whether it's that? Maybe if we start from there, and then the government begins to buy into it, because we have to face reality. As much as we want government to be involved, and yet
the government is not going to do everything.
They can't do everything.
Which is why I said parents, which is why I started.
Yeah.
After 11 years, I don't have any business with the government. And when the government sent to me, I have a son kids.
Seriously?
Yes, that's true. They don't ask me whether these children, whether they're drinking sachet water or they're drinking paracetamol or they're eating noodles. They don't ask me. That's true.
No control, because if the government is involved, it means there's control. There's
no control. So you find out, you walk into some places, you'll be shocked at what you see there. You'll be shocked at the kind of environment you see there. So it's not so much that, the government, they don't know that when they'll be able to control. Sometimes there's no control. People just wake up and start things.
Yeah.
Like I just started what I'm doing. All I need, I just wrote to them, I needed approval. And after a while, they gave me approval. And then so what? So it is us. The government needs to, the private organization need to, but most private organizations I've not seen them sponsor what I'm tired of writing letters anyway. I've written.
You're looking for something that is popular. That they can
beautiful. You put in money there, the child, you do spelling bee, all those kind of things. That's where you see the children shining, speaking, it's not what they want. This does not sell, but that is what it is.
It's a sad one. So, Nonye, I see that your current location you're renting your current location.
Yes, it's on rent.
And I see that you're moving to a state-of-the-art facility in where's this Lekki?
Lakowe at Lekki, yes.
Congratulations.
I'm laughing I thought it's state of the art. I hope it comes state of the art. Trying to do something something nice, something better, at least we stop paying rent. I'm hoping that it's a step into, into doing it, because, you are doing something without a template, you know what I mean? And so, but definitely my dream is that it's a place, as I said, where you're coming, it doesn't reflect the kind of depression you see in other places, beautiful environment. Yeah, the children are more comfortable. At least I can bring them out, to take the sun outside. We can have some garden. We can have a little play area. It's not as big as I wanted it to be, because I didn't get the kind of support. I didn't get any support. It's just friends, family and friends on the social media. Fantastic. Social media has been so, so good. So, but at least it's a step. I'm not going to be sitting where I was. I'm going to move further. And that is one. I'm even shocked at how much we have put in there. We put in so much money. Don't ask me where the money is coming from. I don't know. And we are still, going to put in more money. I'm hoping that before the end of this year, by God's grace, we are going to move in. We are going to finish a section, and then we move in. Then while we are there, we'll do the other section.
That's very comforting to hear. I'm very happy. I'm very happy for you, because I know with this kind of conditions, they need a lot of space, and you can't pick those kids in a very confined environment. You need them to have.
Yes, and then like now where we are, you have to, for instance, my daughter and two other children, you carry them in a very disrespectful way, from upstairs to people are carrying the child and bringing the child down. Yeah, but that's what you have to do. But there, at least you put the child in the chair, in the wheelchair. Then you can wheel the child, because everywhere will be rammed. You put the child in the going upstairs, and then it even saves the caregiver as well, because the caregiver is able to, you're not just children at their back, so you can wheel them up and down. So it's an attempt. I'm hoping that from there we are going to get, maybe buy up spaces around it and expand that.
So we're rooting for you. Given what you know now, what advice do you have for parents who have children living with this condition, living with
cerebral palsy? Well, knowing what I know now, first of all, I have to tell them that you have to come to acceptance very fast. Acceptance means you have to accept that there is no cure, and that it's a condition the child will live all his or her life. The condition doesn't get worse, but there are some underlying issues that will be coming, like distortions, they will come in as the child goes in. For instance, my child already is developing scoliosis, which is part of the attending issues coming there to come with school challenge. So what I'm saying, you need to know. There's nothing like knowledge. And now I say knowledge is at the tip of your fingers. You can read, you can learn. And then that you are the best person to take care of your child. It's okay to expect others, government, whoever, to come to your aid, but you have to be in front to show people what you want. You have to make that demand all over the world. In Australia, the Cerebral Palsy Alliance started over 70 years ago, and it was parents who came together. And today, Australia is one of the best places to have a child with cerebral palsy. It's followed by other, maybe between UK and US. I don't know which one is better, but we know that Australia comes tops. And it was parents who fought that. So parents need to come together to do that.
Okay, that's very true. That's very true. So, what role can the public play in making life easier for parents who have children with cerebral palsy?
The public, the public needs education, because sometimes you cannot accept what you don't know, right? What you don't know, what you don't understand, you are afraid of. For instance, you see a child having convulsion outside, you are afraid because of the myth that you had before. If the saliva touches you, you are going to have that kind of thing. So the church, yes, the churches, they have to educate their congregation. The mosque, they need to educate their congregation that, this thing, they have to accept that God allowed this. We have to graduate from that level of, oh, God heals everything. He didn't, because if he did, he wouldn't tell us to go to the world and heal. He won't send us to go to the world and take care of the poor. The poor will always be there. The sick will always be there. So they have to accept the fact that the fact that you have a child with this condition does not make you a sinner, that you are saying, So until we get out all those things out of our minds, then we will stop looking down on families who have children like this. Because part of why parents hide their children is because when you come out with a child like this, you are looked as the worst sinner. If God so loved you, you're not going to have a child like this.
Nonye, you're doing a wonderful job. And we thank you for this. And I know that we always say that God doesn't give us a challenge that He's not prepared us for. And I think you were prepared for this. And that, I think a lot of families who have benefited from this program, because I also understand that it's at no cost to the parents. And it's not every day you hear this. It's not every day you hear this.
The truth is this. As I said, when I started, they were charging so much money. And then there were NGOs who said they're working with disabilities, right? Or some organization they set up. When you put a price on what, for instance, if I put a price on what I'm doing, I personally cannot afford it. So if I put a price, we disenfranchise a lot of people. Yeah. And then some of these people who say they're working with children who work with children with disabilities and they charge money, they still, let me use the word beg, solicit for funds, right? And still they charge families. I say, okay, if these children are abandoned, which often happens, they're abandoned in orphanages, then these orphanages, people go there and support them. It's true, right? So I figured that, okay, if parents can take care of their children and they can bring them and we can give them free therapies, the same people who go and support them when they're abandoned should be able to support them. And that's what has happened. In the past 11 years, parents bring their children, I conscientize them. I said, you know what? If this your child is to be a regular child, you will be paying fees, isn't it now? They'll say yes. So you can drop something if you want. Some of them want, but they cannot afford to. That's a fact. We do our due diligence. We visit them unannounced. And when you come there, you find out that some of them, we still have to give them money to feed. They don't have. So a family who you have to help, support to feed, who has a child with this, you can imagine that if the child is just left at home with him or with them, that first of all, he has to take care of the ones that you grew up to be heads of state. You know what I mean? The ones that we go to school and not this one. So what we do is that for such families, we buy the medication for their children. A bottle of Epilim is 6,200 naira. Take that away. How many parents can afford that? Some children are on Epilim, Keppra, and Baclofen. When you check that every month, it amounts to 20-something thousand naira, close to 30,000 naira. She can afford it, not that she does not want to. So what do? I beg. I'm licensed to beg. So insofar as I'm not begging to go and build a house for myself or to buy a car for myself, I beg for the money. So, and you make more people happy. And when people come and say, okay, these are the children, that save the children, I'm not taking the money for myself. And the parents are happy. And they take better care of their children. I've seen families, you see the mother, I keep pictures, the first of all, when they bring the children, I take their picture and the mother's picture, I keep it. 1 year later, I bring the two. You juxtapose it. You see the difference. The woman is happier. She accepts her child better. She's seen other children. She's beginning to show more love to her child. She doesn't see her child as a devourer anymore. So you've achieved so many things. What do you want to use the money to do? You charge money what for? How much do you want to charge the woman? It's this whole we are going to spend all that money for, isn't it? No. So,
thank you for sharing your story. You're a beacon of light in this very dark world that we live in. And we hope that more people will hear about this condition, more people will be enlightened by it, and that we can bring through our platform more help, more people who are willing to support. I mean, everybody needs help. We're not disputing that. But more people would decide to focus on people like children who have cerebral palsy or who have a specific illness where there's no cure and no help and no government support at all. We hope that more organizations will do that. We thank you for doing this. We thank those people, everyone who has been supporting you. We bless you. and we'll keep you in our prayers. And we hope that we'll do our part in supporting what you're doing, because it takes one person and then two people and then three people, and then it's a whole movement. And like you said, it takes everybody to chip in. So we hope that we can do our part and that the public will also chip in as well. And we won't let people forget. We will keep talking about it. Thank God for social media. So we'll make so much noise that people get uncomfortable and become comfortable doing it. Thank you, Nonye. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
Challenge yourself and family today. Be brave and courageous. Educate yourself about cerebral palsy and other congenital conditions so we can show true love to these wonderful kids. At present, Nonye is at the vanguard of a fundraising drive to build a 30-room plus facility at Lekki in Lagos to expand the scope of the center's goal, to be at the front line and cutting edge in providing support, services, and therapeutic modalities to children with cerebral palsy. With a minimum of 1,000 naira from well-wishers and supporters of a dream, the center was able to secure land at Lake Hill in Lekki area, and the 3-4 complex is closer to completion than previously imagined. She is grateful for all the love from members of the public and appeals that we should not get tired in seeing this project to a positive conclusion. And as such, we should continue to chip in our widow's mite to #help us keep the builders on site. Visit the CP Center at www.cpcenter.com.ng or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/CP Center Nigeria, on Twitter at CP Center Nigeria, and on Instagram at Cerebral Palsy Center. With an appointment via WhatsApp or phone call on +234 8033 482792, you may visit the center. All COVID-19 protocols observed at number 37B, Body Thomas Street, Surulere, Lagos. Let us support Nonye, for one person can help 1,000 people, and two can help 2,000. Put a smile on the face of these innocent ones. Volunteer, donate what you can, but show up for love. For more future stories on incredible Nigerian entrepreneurs, follow us on our YouTube page and across our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all at Ninja Hustle. Don't forget to click the notification bell to alert you more hustlers that we bring to your screen. And don't forget, what's your hustle?